Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Zombies released on November 13th, 2020 and began the first chapter of the Dark Ether story. Cold War, just in general, was coming off the massive success that was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, and more specifically, Warzone. And not only that, Cold War was already coming off the massive backlash that was Black Ops 4, Treyarch's most recent game prior. So straight off the bat, Cold War already has a lot on the line here, not just for zombies, but the entire Call of Duty franchise at large. Now that Cold War's life cycle is officially over with the release of Forsaken in Season 6, I thought it would be an appropriate time to look back on the year of Cold War Zombies we've all experienced together and see what was great about it, what was okay, and what was simply downright horrendous. I've never made a video to this scale before, ever. So first of all, I would appreciate, if you dropped a like on it, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel with that notification bell turned on. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and join the Discord server down below in the description. But with that all out of the way, what better way to begin this video off than to talk about all the new changes that Cold War made on day one? Because just over a year ago at the time of Cold War's release, we saw the conclusion of the Ether story, or at least what we thought was the conclusion of the Ether story as we knew it. So with a new story and a new game, let's go over all the new changes that Cold War Zombies made in comparison to everything that came before it. So strap in, get your popcorn ready, grab a nice glass of gamer juice, and let's begin this journey back to November 13th, 2020, the launch of Black Ops Cold War Zombies. Unlike Cold War's predecessor, Black Ops 4 Zombies, which released with 4 maps, those being Voyage of Despair, 9, Blood of the Dead, and Classified, Cold War only released with 1 map, Knock der die Maschine. And with Knock der Toten returning for only the 6th time in 12 years, we also saw the return of the classic perks that were missing from Black Ops 4 Zombies, such as Juggernog, Speed Cola, Deadshot Daiquiri with a brand new makeover by the way, and a brand new perk that we have never seen before in Zombies, Elemental Pop. Throughout the entire game's DLC season, we saw the return of 4 old perks: Tombstone, Mule Kick, Death Perception from Black Ops 4 Zombies, and PhD Slider. Although the classic perk system did return, it also wasn't without its innovations. For the first time ever in an official Treyarch Zombies map, the perk limit was scrapped completely, and the player could buy as many perks as they wanted. So just to quickly explain for those of you who don't know how the perk system works in Cold War, the first perk will always cost 2,500 points, and every other perk you buy from there in will cost another 500. So the second will cost 3,000, the third will cost 3,500, all the way up to the 10th and final perk that will end up costing 7,000 points. Special weapons from Black Ops 4 Zombies also returned in Cold War, although this time they were now in the form of field upgrades. One major criticism the community had back in Black Ops 4 Zombies was that special weapons were way too overpowered. So thankfully, Treyarch took this into consideration when creating field upgrades for Cold War, and by launch for Cold War Zombies, we had a total of 5 field upgrades, and by the end of the game, we had a total of 8. Whether you need to get out of a corner with Ether Shroud, or annihilate a Megaton with Ring of Fire, or even pop a Phoenix Up with your healing aura, each field upgrade had a part to play. Only problem is, no one uses anything except Ring of Fire for high rounds and Ether Shroud for speedrunning, so literally everything else is as good as useless. And with these brand new additions already being put in the game, Treyarch also introduced the tier system for perks, weapons, field upgrades, and even alternate ammo types. At launch, this system was very limited as every item only had a total of 3 tiers. But thankfully, Treyarch decided to add in tiers 4 and 5 just a few months after launch. Good on you, Treyarch. Good on you. Everything we've just explained up to this point was only in the main menu alone. We have not even gotten to the main gameplay yet, which is thankfully what we'll be getting to right now. So even before you spawn to the map itself, you can have the option of choosing a loadout, which is a weapon of your choosing and a field upgrade of your choosing. Yes, for all my nostalgia lovers out there, that means no more spawning in with an M1911 exclusively. I mean, if you want to do it, go ahead and use the M1911, but when you have guns like the Gallo, the Howler, and the M16, Why use literally anything else? Not even just the 1911, but any gun that is in the game. Typically, when you spawn into a zombies map, your screen will only fade into color, and that is it. With Cold War, you'll have a short 5 to 6 second cutscene on every map and Outbreak, where it physically shows you arriving on the map, whether it's by a helicopter, with a car, or even by teleportation. It's not a crazy change, but I do appreciate Treyarch taking the time and adding a little more personality in a game that, well, quite frankly, has barely any, which we'll be getting into very soon in the retrospective. So finally, we've made it into the map, and Treyarch's made yet another 30 changes just straight off the bat. Just so I don't waste your guys' time with the HUD, I'm just going to quickly tell you guys what's on it and what you need to know about it. First and foremost, you have your round number at the top right, you have your name and health at the bottom left alongside your points, you have your weapon, equipment, and field upgrade as normal in the bottom right of your screen, and for the first time ever, zombies now house a mini-map located at the top left of your screen, and also a compass at the top center. Everybody turns that off, by the way, because it's literally the most useless thing we have ever seen in zombies. Even more useless than Die Rise. Man, what? And just like you would see in a game like Destiny, you can actually see the health of every zombie in the map. You can turn these health bars off in the settings, but I leave them on just so I can see how much damage I'm dealing and how close I am to killing a certain enemy. And just like Destiny, you can actually see how much damage you deal to each enemy, with normal bullets showing a white number and critical damage, aka headshots, showing a bold yellow. I really love this feature that Treyarch added in with Cold War, and I hope they keep it with Vanguard. But besides all that, wall weapons in every map, and especially the mystery box, went through some drastic changes. For the first time ever in zombies, weapons now came out as rarities, as you would see in Warzone. The higher the weapon's rarity, the more attachments it had, and the more damage that it would deal. There are a total of 5 tiers in Cold War zombies that you need to know. There's your red loadout, a green uncommon, a blue rare, a purple legendary, and a yellow epic weapon. Each rarity increased weapon damage by a total of 50%. And in terms of damage, Pack-a-Punch, as expected, returned, but instead of a single pack like before, in the notorious 5 Pack-a-Punches from Black Ops 4 Zombies, a player only needed to Pack-a-Punch 3 times to maximize their damage. Like I just said, rarities increased weapon damage by 50%, but Pack-a-Punch doubles weapon damage per upgrade. Zombie behavior was also extremely different from past games we've had before Cold War. Not only was zombies' speed increase, but the amount of damage that they would deal to a player would also increase as the rounds went on. At first, they would deal only 30 damage, then by round 11, they would deal 50, by round 31, they'll deal 75, then by round 46 and upwards, they deal a total of 90 damage per hit. I really like how this made high rounds a little more challenging. I mean, the game was already super easy as it is, but I at least appreciate Treyarch making things a little more challenging as the high rounds went on. A similar concept from Infinite Warfare Zombies also made an appearance in Cold War, except more expanded upon this time around. Every time you kill a zombie, there is a chance a piece of equipment drops. Every piece of equipment that is available in Cold War Zombies has a chance of dropping, including the iconic monkey bomb and eventually the Gersh device in Season 4 with the release of Toten. But what Cold War expanded upon here was the addition of salvage. Salvage was a very different type of currency than we've seen in the past. Every time you kill a zombie, there's a chance they will drop either green salvage or blue salvage. You can use green salvage to craft grenades and lower tiers of armor, which by the way, armor is this game's version of a shield that we've seen in zombies before. And blue salvage can be used to craft score streaks, tier 3 armor, and even self-revives if you need them. And one final thing, starting on round 11, you actually have the option to exfil the map. So the only way that you could end the game before in zombies was dying or just ending the game. Now you can actually exfil starting on round 11, and every 5 rounds after round 11, you actually can have the option to exfil and end the game by killing about 50 zombies in a short amount of time and taking the helicopter you initially came into the map with out of it, and you can actually end the game that way. For me personally, I never actually use the exfil system to end my games. I always just click end game because it's way easier. But for those of you who do want to end their game a little differently than you have before, the exfil system is a great way to earn some extra XP and even some crystals if you have not gotten them yet. Cold War introduced many new mechanics and ways to play the game, as we've just discussed. But what about its maps? What did they do to enhance or hold back the experience that we all got this past year? What better place to start off part 1 of this video than the map that this game launched with, the one that gave everyone a sense of familiarity. Before we even get into the map itself, I just want to quickly discuss some parts of the story. This isn't a full-on story analysis video. I'm just going to quickly discuss a couple things about the story that I think is important to know, and then I'll dive into the actual map itself. So to kick things off, there are two factions that drive most of the Dark Ether story forward, Requiem and Omega. Both of these groups ultimately have the same goal in mind: harness the powers of the Dark Ether to gain an advantage in the peak of the Cold War. Requiem is led by Weaver, who makes his first appearance in the Call of Duty franchise since Black Ops 1 10 years before this game's release. And Omega is led by Kravchenko, the same character that took out Weaver's eye in the Black Ops 1 campaign. Like I said, both of these groups have the same goal in mind and are pretty much different sides of the same coin. But there is a third group. Well, I wouldn't say group, I would probably say a third person here, and that is no other than Samantha Maxis. And yes, this is the same Samantha Maxis we saw at the end of the Tagged or Tone ending cutscene, but all grown up now. And she isn't on either Requiem's or Omega's side. She very much has her own agenda in mind, and that is to completely wipe out the Dark Ether and prevent both Requiem and Omega from possessing any part of it. And for those of you who don't know, the Dark Ether is pretty much where the multiverse collapsed when Primus Nikolai destroyed the summoning key in Tagged or Tone. And that now brings us to the Maschine. As I said, this map takes place at Nacht Tone and is ground zero for the Dark Ether outbreaks. Thankfully, this map is not a Nacht remake for the 6th time, and it only takes up roughly 10% of the actual map, so it's mostly an original map for the first time since Ancient Evil in spring of 2019. Very creative, Treyarch. Well done. This map has two main sections: the grounds surrounding Nacht Tone and the bunker, with both Nacht Tone and the power room being the central hub for each section. What I really enjoy about this map's layout is how linear it is. Each room, while not being necessarily unique, gives off a very nice flow, especially with how small the map is. Each subsection of the map has at least one perk, 1 to 2 wall weapons, and mystery box location. Everything is well spread out and gives the map a nice linear flow, as I just said. This isn't a JR Rizzo analysis video where I go into extreme depth of every map and every tiny aspect of it. You guys can check out his channel for that. But this video is mostly my general opinion on what I believe each map succeeded in and some cases failed in. We've already discussed the gameplay in the last section and everything that changed with it, so I'm primarily going to focus on each map's layout, high rounds, and its Easter egg quest. High rounds on this map are very simple. All you need is a ray gun, ring of fire, and the occasional death machine. Go up to the penthouse where the Wonder Fizz machine is located and hold out there as long as possible. Just make sure the door behind you leaning towards Jug is closed, because if that door opens, your high round game is as good as done. The current round 100 speedrun world record on this map is 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 7 seconds by Anokata, which is actually the fastest round 100 in Treyarch Zombies history as of right now. So straight off the bat, with all the changes Cold War has brought with zombie health, round duration, and spawns, it's clear that this game is going to have extremely fast round 100s, which is, by the way, what ended up being the case with every map. So whether you believe that is a good thing or a bad thing is entirely subjective. The Machine's atmosphere is very basic and for the most part pretty bland, but allowing players to travel to the Dark Ether made up for that boring atmosphere that this map offered. The bunker also has a very boring atmosphere, but I think that was what Treyarch's goal was here, to create a semi-realistic setting with some fantastical elements, such as the Dark Ether. This map also introduced a couple new special enemies, such as the Plaguehounds and Megatons. Plaguehounds took over the typical dog rounds we are all familiar with in this map, except once you kill them, they leave a gas smoke that damages a player whenever they are inside it. And Megatons are, well, they take a megaton of bullets to kill. Please laugh my jokes, I just want to feel funny for once. But in all seriousness, these guys are absolute brutes, and they take a very long time to kill if you are not prepared for them. But a nice little fun fact, if you didn't know already, if you apply Deadwire to any compatible weapon, you can actually kill Megatons way faster than you would without. So that was a nice little change on Treyarch's part by making AATs more than just the occasional ability to put on your weapon. Good on you, Treyarch. Well done. Well played. Before Cold War released, Easter eggs were complex puzzles that, in some cases, took a lot of knowledge to complete, and in some cases, a lot of skill. Cold War Zombies, for the most part, made Easter egg steps very basic, and they pretty much held your hand throughout most of the steps. Like, literally half of D Machine's Easter egg is listening to Spectral Ghost for 5 minutes. And the other half is upgrading the DIE Wonder Weapon into its 4 elemental variants to shoot a hanging tube. Hell, even the boss fight is super simple. Orlov doesn't take any damage, and you're not punished for playing poorly. The man is literally God, taking hits from all sorts of enemies, and you're out here running for your life as soon as one zombie taps you. Like, look at the man Orlov go. Like, in terms of difficulty, we went from Black Ops 4 Easter eggs with maps like Blood of the Dead, 9, Voyage of Despair, and every other map that is on the game to Maschine. Yikes. To summarize Maschine in just a few short sentences, it was a good introduction into the Dark Ether and helped sow the seeds for the rest of Cold War Zombies. This map was never meant to be the next Origins, the next Shadows of Evil, or any of the all-time greats we have seen from Treyarch up to this point. Maschine served its purpose perfectly, and I love it for that. But with every good map in Call of Duty Zombies history, there is a, well, less enjoyable experience for everyone, and I'm sure we all know what that map is by now. After dropping a massive nuke upon knockdown Toten, we finally got our hands on the first DLC map in Cold War Zombies, Firebase Z. And if I'm not mistaken, okay, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Firebase Z supposed to be a launch map, but it was cut for some odd reasons behind the scenes? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe it was cut from launch, and it was supposed to be a launch map. But what do I know, fellas? I'm just a content creator, and that is all. But back on topic, Firebase Z, in my eyes, is the first actual map of the Dark Ether story. Maschine was more of a prologue in my eyes, and it didn't really push the story forward, but Firebase Z, in my opinion, is what really kicks the Dark Ether story off. In this map, we are met with two brand new characters we have never seen before. An Omega defect named Ravenov, and every Twitter user's boyfriend, Dr. William Peck. The story on this map is extremely simple. Free Samantha Maxis from the Dark Ether, because somehow Peck got his hands on Maxis, tortured her for a little bit, then threw her into the Dark Ether. Even the intel in Maschine and Firebase Z don't explain how Maxis actually got captured. So, great storytelling. Well done. That's honestly one of my biggest issues with the Dark Ether story as a whole, actually. It's not the story itself that's the problem, but the way it's being told is what I have an issue with. Like, we go around every map and every game collecting all this intel, all these documents, when quite frankly, 85 to 9% of everything we collect is pure exposition. I mean, is some of it cool? Yes, I will admit some of the exposition we get with the story is cool, but most of it is completely unnecessary. Only a few bits of intel in every map is actually somewhat useful for the player. But enough of my ranting about the story and all my issues with it. It's time to hop into my least favorite map in Cold War Zombies history, Firebase Z. Oh boy, here we go. As soon as you spawn in, campaign players will immediately recognize the spawn room as that small village from the Firebase Ripcord mission. And before you say, oh, is this map just a remake from the campaign? Unfortunately, the answer is no. There is a teleporter at the top of the spawn room that brings you to a fully unique location. So for all those people constantly complaining about remakes and zombies, you finally got your wish. Well done. You guys complained enough. Great job. The setup on this map is fortunately extremely simple for anyone to pick up immediately. Go to the 3 main sections on the map, fill 3 soul boxes, go back to Pack-a-Punch, and voila, you now have Pack-a-Punch. You're now fully set up. It takes no more than 5 minutes to set up on Firebase Z, and you know, that makes me happy. I'm not trying to play Zetsubo no Shime when it takes literally 15-20 minutes for the casual player to simply flip a power switch. So that's one thing I really like about this map, and most of Cold War at large. Firebase Z also introduced a brand new wonder weapon, the Ray K-84. This wonder weapon is the physical embodiment of the AK-47 and the Ray Gun Mark III having an offspring. This map also saw the return of 2 iconic special enemies we've seen in zombies in the past. The Russian Manglers from Gorod Krovi and the good old Hellhounds that we all know and love. You know, I'm still sad they got rid of the sound effect, but you know, it is what it is in the end. This map also introduced a brand new special enemy into zombies, the Mimic. This monstrosity can take the form of any piece of equipment and potentially jump scare any player that is not aware of their surroundings. So another thing that this map did great was the variety of special enemies that we saw in it. There's actually one more special enemy that I have not talked about yet, but fortunately that ties into my next point here about what I like about this map, and that is the special rounds, also known as an assault round. Roughly 10 rounds after you turn on Pack-a-Punch, you'll be given an assault round. And honestly, any assault round you get get before round 30, in my opinion, is kind of boring, I gotta say. Look, the idea was really cool behind these assault rounds. It really takes inspiration from the tower defense games that we've seen before, but the way they executed it was honestly kind of boring, I guess. I don't know what it was, but I really did not enjoy these assault rounds until we get past round 30. In the assault rounds, round 30 and above, you will see the final special enemy introduced in this map, which was first teased, by the way, in the Maschine, the Orda. This absolute beast is massive. So big, in fact, that they couldn't even fit a health bar above his head. They had to splatter a health bar on the actual HUD of the game itself. This was the first time Treyarch has done anything like this, where they have a full-on health bar on your HUD. So to see that for the very first time, plus the size of the Order itself, lets you know that this guy is absolutely massive and is a threat that must be dealt with. And honestly, that is pretty much where the map ends. The only actual side Easter egg I can think of is the bunny Easter egg that you can do in spawn. After that, I don't think there's actually any side Easter eggs that you can do in the map. The Easter egg, I'm gonna be quite blunt here, was absolutely terrible. Most of it is just Peck talking about his life story while under the influence of truth serum, and you playing hide and go seek with mimics and crystals. Like, the only personality I can think of off the top of my head in this map is Peck dancing with his wife Martha. Why did you say that name? One thing I will say though is that the mid-game cutscene and the end-game cutscene were pretty cool. It was nice to see Maxis come out of the Dark Ether and to see Kravchenko is actually the head of Omega, but that's literally all this map has to offer. I'm actually trying to think of what else this map has, but that, I'm telling you guys, that's literally all this map has. But fortunately, it was not long before the next major release in Cold War Zombies was out, and it definitely was the beginning of Treyarch's biggest experiment they've ever set out on. Throughout the entirety of Call of Duty Zombies, we've seen a variety of different game modes come and go. Grief, Turned, Rush, Gauntlet, Cranked, and even Jingle Hells from the Maschine. But we have never seen anything like Outbreak. Before its release on February 25th, just a few weeks after Firebase Z released, this mode was marketed as an open world zombies experiments, where players could have the freedom to do whatever they chose to. Just think of games like Grand Theft Auto and Destiny. You would have your main story, your main objectives that you would have to do eventually to complete the game, but you could always have your own free time to do your own side objectives and get some rewards for doing your own side stuff as well. To summarize, you basically had the freedom to do whatever the heck you wanted to do. So with Outbreak in Cold War Zombies, we had something similar to that, at least with the same concept it was going for, but on a much smaller scale. On launch, Outbreak released with only 3 maps, all being ported over for multiplayer's Fireteam mode: Ruka, Alpine, and Golova. What I really liked about each map on launch is how diverse each one was from one another. Ruka primarily took place in a forest environment, Alpine made it feel like Christmas, but in the month of July, and Golova made you feel at home with its open neighborhoods and farmlands. The only thing these maps had in common was their size. These new Outbreak maps we got on February 25th were massive. But thankfully, for the first time ever in Zombies history, we were allowed to use vehicles to travel around every map. You know, to this very day, I'm still sad they didn't allow us to use helicopters in Outbreak, but I do understand that it would kind of break the game. So hopefully for Vanguard we get something like that, but I doubt it will happen. Rounds in Outbreak are completely different from what we've seen in the past. Rounds in Outbreak are no longer based on kills, but objectives completed. When Outbreak first launched, we had 5 different objectives that we had to complete on each map: Escort, Defense, HVT, Holdout, and Retrieve. As time went on, we got a total of 2 brand new objectives in Outbreak, those being Secure and Transport. We also saw the addition of 5 brand new maps in Outbreak's lifecycle in Cold War: Sanatorium, Duga, Zoo, my personal favorite, Collateral, and Armada. Every time you completed one of these main objectives, you would get a large amount of points and some bonus salvage on top of it. And after that, an anomaly would spawn in one of 3 different locations around the map. Once you activate the anomaly, you'll be given time to upgrade your weapons, buy some perks, refill your armor, do whatever it is they need to do before moving on to the next round. And like I said, rounds in Outbreak are not based on kills, but on locations and challenges completed. So let's say we have HVT on Sanatorium for round 1. Once you complete that objective and you've used the anomaly and then teleport to the next location, you'll now be on round 2. But there is a way you can actually skip a couple rounds up to round 5. You know, if you just shoot the beacon there like you've just seen on your screen, you can actually skip a round up until round 5. Once you get past round 5, you will no longer be able to skip any rounds. Thankfully, with any type of open world mode, there's more than just the main objective in each map that you can complete. In Outbreak, there is a total of 9 side quests that you can do, with 2 to 3 spawning in randomly each round. Want a free perk? Go ahead and activate this radio and kill a few HVTs to get yourself that free perk. Want a free weapon tier upgrade? Just shoot a few Fury Crystals around a certain building and you'll get yourself that free upgrade. There's a lot more side quests that you can do in Outbreak, and honestly, I'm too lazy to explain them, so we're just gonna move on with the rest of this video. So, what are my general thoughts on Outbreak? Oh god, Twitter is gonna hate me for saying this, but I actually do kind of like Outbreak. Is there a lot of room for Outbreak to improve on? Yes. Yes, there is. And I think some of the criticisms I have of Outbreak will actually be addressed in Vanguard. So, for example, being able to choose what map you want to play and what objective you have on each map is something that I've always wanted in Outbreak, because in Outbreak, it's always been a cycle, just a random cycle, I guess. That's the best way to describe it here, where you have a random map and a random objective put together, and it's a constant cycle of pure RNG. So, you don't know what you're going to get each round, and you're not prepared for each one. Also, Outbreak maps in Cold War are way too big. I find myself actually running away from the zombies more than I'm actually shooting them. And thankfully, I think the Vanguard maps in Durand Fang are going to be way smaller than we've got in Cold War. So I'm not too worried about that, but what I am worried about is Outbreak or Durand Fang's replayability. In Cold War, I can only play Outbreak every now and then. I can't really do it too often, but thankfully, I'll get into my next point here, and that's both of the Easter eggs. Taking inspiration from Transit, Die Rise, and Buried, you can actually do 2 completely separate Easter eggs. The first Outbreak Easter egg is Outbreak's official Easter egg, as I like to call it, and the second Easter egg isn't really an Easter egg in my eyes, it's more so a prologue to the next map that we'll be discussing pretty soon. But unlike Black Ops 2 Zombies, where most of the Easter eggs are no more than 10 to 15 minutes, both of Outbreak's Easter eggs can take upwards of 35 to 40 minutes. This is not an Easter egg tutorial video by any means, so I'm just going to quickly highlight my favorite parts from both Easter eggs. The second half of Outbreak's first Easter egg is probably my favorite thing about Cold War, hands down. I love how it brings you to a completely unique location under Ruka, and I'm still really sad that the bunker under Ruka never became a round-based map, because it literally fits the perfect idea for a round-based map, like a small survival round-based map. And then we get probably the hardest boss fight we've gotten since Voyage of Despair and Black Ops 4 Zombies, Legion. This entire boss fight is pure chaos. You got super sprinters coming at you, you have a ton of special enemies coming at you, you have literally everything coming at you, and you need to take out Legion within 10 minutes. And if you don't take out Legion within 10 minutes, your game ends and you die. I personally was not a fan of the time-based boss fight, because once that timer hits 0, you just die and your entire game ends. But I do like the extra level of suspense that add to the boss fight, and again, I appreciate what Treyarch was trying to do here. Again, like I've said plenty of times now, Outbreak was Treyarch's biggest experiment they've ever done, so I guess if they wanted to experiment with a time-based boss fight, this was the place to do it. But besides all that, I absolutely love the atmosphere of this boss fight. From the music, to the enemies, to the sound design, mostly everything about this boss fight was absolutely glorious. And I feel like this is when Treyarch really found their feeling for boss fights in Zombies, and it only continued to improve as time went on with Cold War Zombies. But the second Outbreak Easter egg, on the other hand, I don't really consider an Easter egg. Smart Guy said perfectly actually in a tweet at one point. He finds it more so as a prologue quest, like a main introduction into the next round-based map, which we get into very soon. But this was very much a story-driven quest as opposed to a gameplay-driven quest like the first Outbreak Easter egg was. So in hindsight, I enjoyed both Outbreak Easter eggs for what they were. I enjoyed Outbreak's first Easter egg for its gameplay, and I did enjoy Outbreak's second prologue quest for its story. So for a total of 5 months, Outbreak got constant updates, and round-based maps were as good as ignored completely by Treyarch. So the community did what they did best: beg and complain to Treyarch that their game is not good and that they wanted to get something that they wanted. So after 5 months of complaining, their prayers were finally answered, and the third map in Cold War Zombies, I can say, did not disappoint. 5 months and a bunch of Outbreak content later, we finally got our hands on the third round-based map of Cold War Zombies, Mauer der Toten. After our strike team in Raptor 1 were captured by Kravchenko and Omega, we are sent to Berlin, Germany, where Kravchenko reveals to us that Valentina is actually a double agent working for the Third Reich. Yeah, that one character that showed up for a moment at the very end of the Firebase Z cutscene is apparently a double agent working for the Third Reich. Yeah, if you did not read the intel, you would have no idea who or what Valentina is and what she did. But for a little bit of insight, Valentina is actually the daughter of Ulrich Vogel. You know that ghost from Die Maschine when you had to give that spectral ghost the book? That is apparently Valentina's father. I don't know, it just came out of the blue, okay? I didn't really read the intel and that's what happened. But the main story of this map is very simple as well. Work for Omega, stop Valentina, and Raptor 1 will be freed. Just to get my thoughts on Mauer der Toten out of the way immediately, this is, in my opinion, the best map in Black Ops Cold War Zombies, hands down. This map, in my eyes, is the closest we've ever gotten in Cold War to that classic Zombies feel we've all known and love. Die Maschine, Firebase Z, and even Outbreak felt like Cold War Zombies. It felt like its own separate thing. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily, depending how you feel about Cold War, but Mauer der Toten really felt like Zombies was returning to its roots back in the Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3 golden days of the community. Like, I don't know if it's the atmosphere, the main quest, the side quests that are available in the map. I feel like this map just hit all the marks for what a round-based Zombies map should be. But straight off the bat, unlike Firebase Z and Die Maschine, this map has a lot of colors. And ironically, it's actually the first round-based Zombies map in Cold War to take place exclusively at night. There's 3 main sections to Mauer der Toten that you should be aware of: the apartments, the streets of Berlin, and the subway. And each area plays very differently from the other. While the apartments are very close-quartered and clustered, the streets are very wide open and give you a lot of room to train around. And the subways are a mix of both. You can either train or camp. Both of them are equally effective. And a lot of the reason why I love this map so much is because of its wonder weapon, the Cerberus. This wonder weapon is hands down the best weapon we got in Cold War Zombies by a long shot. This weapon also comes with 3 different variants, but unfortunately, the main version is the best. The other 3 are absolute garbage compared to the original Cerberus. So while they're nice to have, they don't really feel necessary when you already have the main version of the Cerberus that's way better than any of them combined. Mauer der Toten also introduced 2 brand new special enemies, Disciples and Tormentors. Disciples were pretty much water catalysts from the Chaos story done right, and Tormentors were fire catalysts done right. You know, half the time I just feel like the Dark Aether story only exists to shit on the Chaos story, and honestly, I love it for that. But in terms of atmosphere and gameplay just in of itself, this map is absolutely incredible. At least in my opinion, this might be a top 10 map of all time. It's that good. I'll get to the main quest soon, but I just want to talk about the variety of side quests that this map has. Obviously, you have your side quest to get your free wonder weapon. We've seen that in Die Maschine and Firebase Z, but you also have your quest with the Dark Aether Bunny, and it blends together what Die Maschine and Firebase Z did to create something absolutely beautiful. As soon as you spawn into the dance floor, you already know things are about to go down. The beat has already started and the zombies are dancing on the dance floor. As soon as that beat drops, you already know the zombies are about to go absolutely ballistic against you. And best of all, it's not just one phase. You get 3 phases of this, so you're inside this lockdown for at least 2 to 3 minutes. And once you're finished with these 3 phases of killing zombies, you get to play the classic game of door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. So you can either get absolute garbage or you can get the best of the best and potentially a free Cerberus wonder weapon. With this map, I feel like it's not the quantity of the side quests that's available, but the quality of them. And there's one more thing we're going to talk about before we get to the main quest, and that's the amount of personality that is in this map. Die Maschine, Firebase Z, and Outbreak had almost 0 personality. This map had more personality in its wonder weapon than all those experiences did combined. And I have not even gotten the Klaus yet, the Silver Protector of this map. I swear, this guy probably has some of the best rank I have ever seen in Zombies history, even better than Alpha Omega. I'm just going to play a few quotes from Klaus real quick and I'll let you be the judge of them.
You just love giving orders, don't you? Get my lunch, shine my shoes, stop a fucking train. That was time well spent. I do not matter. I was enjoying a nice rest there, but who cares about what I want? Is it wrong to enjoy killing?
But now we can finally get to the main quest of this map, and honestly, it's probably my favorite main quest in the entire game. While the first Outbreak Easter egg had good experiences, it was very inconsistent in its quality. The first half of that Easter egg is honestly the worst thing I think I've ever played, but the second half was fantastic. Toten's Easter egg was great throughout. Whether you're exploring a secret lab from World War II, or carrying an Ethereum canister while fending off endless manglers and tormentors, or even watching Klaus become Spider-Man from Spider-Man 2, stopping a full-blown train. This Easter egg has everything. And best of all, it never slows down. While it's short, the Easter egg feels like a crescendo in a piece of music where it eventually climaxes in the boss fight. While Legion was my favorite boss fight in this game, Valentina had the best vibe for a boss fight I have ever seen. While we've had boss fights like 9, Voyage of Despair, Blood of the Dead, they're all very great boss fights. Well, I wouldn't say Blood's a great boss fight, but 9 and Voyage have fantastic boss fights. This boss fight is just fun. I didn't think they could top Legion for the amount of fun I could have in a boss fight in Cold War, but Treyarch somehow topped that. I made it a tradition in every Easter egg speedrun attempt I had on this map in July to crank up that boss fight music, because oh my god, this boss fight music is freaking incredible. Without the music that's in this boss fight, honestly, this would be a very subpar boss fight. It's fun to do, don't get me wrong, it's fun, but the music makes it that much better. This boss fight is pretty much you against the return of the Third Reich. It's a boss fight 40 years in the making, and you defeating Valentina isn't even the end of it. After defeating her, you probably get one of the most beautiful scenes in Cold War Zombies. You get to defend Klaus, sacrifice himself with uplifting, beautiful music in the background as he closes off the portal to the Dark Ether. I mean, it really makes a man cry when you think about it. It was truly a beautiful scene. As Klaus is about to enter the portal, he stops for a moment, looks back at the player, says goodbye, walks through it, and the screen fades to white. The Toten Easter egg has been completed. We have freed Raptor 1. We have saved the day. Before we get into the final round-based map of Cold War Zombies, I just want to give a quick shout to one thing that was added in before Season 6 began, the Rampage Inducer. In my opinion, this is the best thing Zombies has ever added since Gobblegums in Black Ops 3. This thing was added into every single spawn room on every single round-based map, so that would be the Maschine, Firebase Z, and Toten at the time it was added in. The Rampage Inducer offered something Cold War Zombies severely lacked throughout its entire lifecycle up to this point: a challenge. I gotta be honest for a second, Cold War Zombies is a very, very easy game. Even easier than Black Ops 4 and Black Ops 3 Zombies combined. But when you turn on this Rampage Inducer, this game actually becomes a bit of a challenge. Zombies would now move at max speed, and rounds were changed instantaneously. So typically you would have about 15 to 20 seconds between rounds to prepare for the next wave, but with this Rampage Inducer on, the round would change instantly. Zombies would still deal the same damage and have the same health, but they would move a million times faster, so it's way more difficult to anticipate where they are and to simply prepare for them as a whole. One thing I was shocked to see not return from Black Ops 4 Zombies were its difficulties. So if you don't remember, we had 4 different difficulties in Black Ops 4 Zombies. We had casual, regular, hardcore, and realistic. Casual gave you 5 hits to down, normal was 4 hits, hardcore was 3, and realistic was 1 hit. Then add on the Rampage Inducer on top of those difficulties, and then you'd have a far more challenging and far more replayable game that would keep it alive far longer than it did every single time a new map was released. My only main criticism with this Rampage Inducer is that it only lasts until the end of round 20. If it does return for Vanguard, which I pray it does at some point, I'm hoping Treyarch makes it last the entire game. I believe Kevin Drew on Twitter said that Treyarch is looking into it, so I'm hoping for Vanguard it lasts the entire game, but we're gonna have to wait and see what happens with it. Because if Vanguard is really just gonna be Cold War 2.0 in terms of zombies, we need that extra challenge to separate the good player from the great player. So Treyarch, please do it. Please keep the Rampage Inducer. But with all that out of the way, there is one more part of Cold War Zombies we have yet to discuss. The final map, the conclusion of this arc of the Dark Ether story. Everything that we have discussed thus far, everything that we have experienced throughout this game's life cycle has all led to this moment, the finale of Cold War Zombies. Forsaken. Taking place inside of the red light, green light campaign location, we finally come face to face with the Forsaken, the one in control. Our original goal in this map was to rescue Zykov from the Dark Ether before Omega did, and use his knowledge to help defeat the Forsaken. And just in case you guys don't know who Zykov is, he's the same guy in the mask we saw in the Maschine intro cutscene walk into the bunker of Project End Station and close the Dark Ether breach. So to quickly summarize, he's been the Dark Ether for over 40 years, and just so you know, 40 years in the real world is about 400 years in the Dark Ether. But one very predictable plot twist layer, we find out Zykov is the Forsaken. Now, going into this map, I did not really have very high expectations. The trailer showed very little, and for the most part, it looked like it was going to be a one-to-one copy of the campaign mission we played in the game already. The only thing I was actually excited for about this map was how this arc of the Dark Ether story we've seen throughout Cold War would wrap up. And while the ending of this map was predictable, it was still nice to see this arc of the Dark Ether story wrap up and prepare ourselves for the prequel in just a few days from now. In terms of gameplay, there actually was not a lot of innovation, but one of the biggest highlights of this map, hands down, has to be the spawn room. This map took heavy inspiration from No Man's Land and Moon, and I gotta say, it translated perfectly from Moon to Forsaken. Like, by round 20, you could probably have just enough points to get all your perks, get your guns upgrade. You can literally open everything up in the map by round 20. While Toten, in my opinion, was the best gameplay map, Forsaken is by far the best story map we've gotten, and in my opinion, the best story map we've gotten since Blood of the Dead. This map, in my eyes, is pretty much Firebase Z 2.0. While Firebase Z had only one teleporter bringing you from spawn to the main section of the map, Forsaken has 5 specific locations that you can go to. You have spawn, the 2 town locations, the bunker, and Pack-a-Punch. And what I really like about this map is that besides Pack-a-Punch, you can play pretty much anywhere and be perfectly fine. Whether you're training or camping, either playstyle can be used efficiently and you'll be perfectly fine, which also leads into one of my bigger criticisms with this map. It's just way too easy. Look, I get Cold War is a very easy game, but even Maschine, Firebase Z, and Toten were never this easy. Even with Rampage and Inducer on Forsaken, you cannot die. You're literally a god from the second you spawn in, or at least it just feels that way for some reason. This is, though, hands down, the most colorful map we have seen in Cold War. The only area that doesn't have much color is spawn, so most of the time you're getting a lot of colors put on your screen, and it's a very pleasing visual map. Forsaken introduced only one brand new special enemy, the Abomination, or as I like to call it, the Margwa. It functions the exact same as the Margwa, and that's all you really need to know about it. This map also introduced a brand new wonder weapon, the Crystal Axe, or as I like just to simply call it, the Axe. This thing is a hybrid of an axe and an SMG. I like to call the SMG variant the Needler from Halo because it literally acts the same way as the Needler does. After a certain amount of bullets hit with the Needler, there's a chance any enemy that was hit by the bullets will explode, thus causing collateral damage and killing any zombie or any enemy around the explosion. But in terms of pure innovation with the core gameplay, that's where the map really ends. But where this map shines most is not its main quest or the gameplay itself, but the side Easter eggs. The side Easter eggs on this map are freaking amazing. We all knew going into this map that it would have an arcade because we have played that campaign mission Red Light, Green Light, and part of it features an arcade. So fortunately, Treyarch incorporated the arcade into the map itself as long as you collected an arcade token from a zombie, or you can simply just buy one for 10,000 points. Or, fun fact, if you knife the arcade token machine, you can actually get a free arcade token, but you can only do it once per game, unfortunately. And with this arcade token, you can play 3 and, maybe 4 games. Want to go back to the classic Knockdown Tone for a few minutes? You can do that. Want to do an Outbreak objective on top of the map? You can do that too. Want to use an RCXD, which by the way was introduced in this map and it's used to its fullest potential? You can try to get some extra points in a 1-minute time frame in a small obstacle course where you use your RCXD to jump around and dodge some obstacles and just have some fun with it. That's all it really is. Just a lot of fun. But there is one more side game you can play, and this is probably my favorite side quest in all Cold War, hands down. If you go to this machine above Deadshot and kill a zombie next to it using PhD Slash, Insider, you can actually activate this machine, and you'll actually be able to activate with an arcade token. And once you do, you literally become an RCXD, and the map becomes Talladega Nights. Yes, you can race your friends for 3 laps around the Burger Town section of the map, and it's just a bunch of fun. That's all it is. It's a total blast. But you know what other side Easter egg is more fun than this? Becoming Peter Parker and delivering pizza to different sections of the map.
Pizza time.
Like I said before, this map's highlight is not the core gameplay itself or even the gameplay of the Easter egg. It's the side Easter eggs and the story behind the map, which we'll actually be getting into right now. This map's Easter egg, like the world record on this map is literally 13 minutes. So I won't even be discussing the Easter egg steps because it's literally 2 seconds tops to do. So for the rest of this section, I'll be talking about the story and the boss fight because the story from here on in is absolutely incredible. It's some of the best storytelling I've seen from Treyarch since Blood of the Dead. Obviously, with Legion, Valentina, and every boss fight we've seen, they're very much gameplay-driven boss fights. But Forsaken, on the other hand, is very much a story-driven boss fight. The map is literally named off of this character, the character we are fighting. We've never had a map named the Shadow Man, we've never had a map named Monty, we've never had any map named based on any other character up until this point. This boss fight is honestly really simple. All you need to do is charge up Samantha by killing zombies, then use the laser turret Samantha charges up to shoot the Forsaken in one of 4 different locations, with the first half of this boss fight being on his shoulders. But after you get the Forsaken to 50% health, the Forsaken actually teleports you to a dark void in time, almost like a vision, so to say. And what he shows you is what happens or what will supposedly happen if you do defeat him. You'll see 4 bodies laid across the floor, those being all the Requiem agents such as Carver, Gray, Strauss, and Weaver, with a picture of Samantha as a child behind them, and an old phrase in bold red letters: "No one escapes alive." What this means for the future of the Dark Ether story, I have no clue, but if it's what I'm thinking it means based on what the Forsaken showed us, it could get really dark really quick. But Samantha then saves us from that dark abyss, teleports us back to the map, and then we have to do the same thing again, shoot a Forsaken with the lasers, except this time we have to shoot him in the body and the head to finish him off. But once you defeat the Forsaken is when things really start getting good. Like, the storytelling here might actually be better than Blood of the Dead ever was when you start looking between the lines, which is actually what I'm going to start doing right now. So when you start reading between the lines like I am here, you actually start seeing some connections not only with the Dark Ether story, but the entire Ether story at large. Samantha chooses to sacrifice herself so everyone in her universe may live. And with the sacrifice, everything comes full circle. The music during this scene is absolutely incredible and puts us back into those classic days of Black Ops 2 and even Black Ops 4 Zombies. In Origins and later Alpha Omega, Dr. Maxis saves Sam and Eddie from Dr. Monty, killing both of them off. In Tagter Tone, Primus Nikolai kills off both versions of his friends, including himself, to give Sam and Eddie a chance at a happier life. Now, in Forsaken, Samantha saves her universe, the one she helped create all those years ago, by returning and closing behind her the gateway to the Dark Ether, the one place she helped close off with Primus and Ultimus all those years ago. And with that, the screen fades to black, and the final cutscene of Cold War Zombies begins. Before we get into the actual cutscene itself, I just want to give a quick shout out to Craig Houston and his team for creating one of, if not the most beautiful scenes I have seen in Call of Duty Zombies to date. Between everything happening, between the music, the voice acting, literally everything happening in this one scene alone, it really feels like it's not just the end of the Dark Ether story, but the end of the Ether story at large. It honestly feels like this is the story that Craig Houston and his team wanted to write to wrap up Ether and Black Ops 4 Zombies, but they simply couldn't because they got pushed on the Cold War a year earlier than they should have. And not to mention, Samantha has literally been in the story since Verrucht in 2009 when it released. So knowing that this is potentially the final time we will see her until the next game after Vanguard is actually kind of emotional if you've been invested in the story for as long as I have and many others have. But I'm sure we'll see Samantha again at some point, as the song in the ending cutscene is literally named "We'll Meet Again." So I doubt that was the last time we'll see Samantha, but whether she'll be good or bad is hard to say because of that mid-game cutscene during the boss fight. But just to quickly summarize the end cutscene, since we've all seen it before, all the main Requiem agents are placed under arrest by the director. And by the way, the director is Eddie, the same Eddie that we saw from Tagter Tone with Samantha. And fast forward 5 years into the future, we find out that Peck actually survived the explosion inside of the Watchtower during the Forsaken Easter egg. And we find out that Peck is actually going to the same location where we dropped the inversion warheads during the first Outbreak Easter egg. Whatever that means for the future of the story, we don't know, but I'm positive we'll find out what happens with Peck in the story after Vanguard wraps up, because Vanguard is a prequel to the Dark Ether. So it'll be fun to see how all this unfolds in a couple years from now. And with that, the screen fades to black. We find out the story will continue, and that is the end of Black Ops Cold War Zombies. We have finally come to the end of this Cold War Zombies retrospective. In my eyes, this game will go down in history as Treyarch's biggest experiment. The Zombies formula, as we once knew it before Cold War Zombies, is unfortunately gone. At the time this video is uploaded, Vanguard Zombies will be out in less than a week. And to be completely honest with everybody watching this video right now, I am not excited for the future of Zombies. Just because I'm not excited for the future of Zombies does not necessarily mean the game will end up being bad. And to be completely honest with you, it's not the game that I'm worried about. It's how the community will react that I'm most worried about. I've been in the Zombies community since the very beginning when Nocturne Tone released, and I have never seen the community be this negative towards a Zombies mode in a game that has not released yet. Like I said, I'm not excited for the game, but I am curious to see how it expands upon what Cold War Zombies did in the first place. And just like anything that we've ever experienced in Zombies history, only time will tell if this game ends up being good. We, as a community, should give Vanguard Zombies a chance. Will Vanguard Zombies end up being on the same level as BO3 in Cold War? We can't know for certain. But what I do know that we can do as a community is give Vanguard a chance and give Treyarch the benefit of the doubt. And if Vanguard Zombies does end up being bad, well, thank you all so much for watching this video. I started editing this video just around the 2.5 week mark before Vanguard's official release. The amount of hours I had to spend getting gameplay footage, getting everything together, getting all, just everything. It took a stupid long time to get everything together, and I'm really, really happy with the final outcome of this video. And if you're even still watching this video right now, I love you, man. I love you. But seriously, guys, thank you all for watching this video. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I guess I'll see you guys on Vanguard. Peace out, everybody. Goodbye.